Victoria. This is a bit weird. But we're going to do it. Look, we've said we're doing Instagram differently. So this is the start of something.
Okay.
So it seems a bit weird, but I think as time goes on, it would be absolutely fine because we'll be like, this is the way we do it now.
Yeah.
Conversational. So firstly, what we said is that you were going to go away to Ibiza.
Yes.
Did you have a nice time?
I had the best time.
Yeah, we watched your reels. We know we know you had a good time.
I could have literally made about 50. I think I'm going to be posting about it for the rest of the year. I love it.
So we said that when you come back from Ibiza, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a little bit of a chat.
Yeah.
Just a small chat. Because we could probably do like a 10-hour podcast.
Easy.
On the whole.
It's up at 10-hour podcast.
Yeah, why not? We was going to have a little chat about your breast cancer experience because we never put an end to it.
No, I just disappeared, basically.
Yeah, well, we took a break from social media a little bit, didn't we? So we asked people if they could send in questions. I have some questions for you.
Yes.
How does this feel?
Yes, so weird. You're being weird.
I have some questions for you. So let's just get started.
Okay.
We asked people on Instagram stories to ask you any questions.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, what I would say is that a lot of people, which is very, very beautiful of people here, actually didn't ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
They was just sending you a lot of love.
I know, it's so nice.
It's so nice. That was very beautiful.
Thank you.
People are so kind here. That's the one thing I've always said.
Yeah.
People are so kind. But one of the most popular questions, and I think it's probably the most question you get asked
100%.
is how did you find the lump?
Yeah.
That's the one of the most popular.
Yeah.
That's one of the most popular questions.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you find the lump? So how did you find the lump?
That's you're asking me the question.
Yeah, let's go.
How did I find the lump? So yeah, how did I find it and was I looking for it? No, I wasn't looking for it. There's so many campaigns that go around telling us to check your boobs and like check your boob awareness month and all these things. And even though they're all everywhere, I wasn't checking my boobs. I don't know about you, whoever's watching this, but I didn't do it. I didn't think it would ever happen to me, which I think is the consensus across the globe.
And also, why didn't you think it would happen to you?
Well, because I thought I was too young. Which is complete misconception. And also because I'm like really healthy, like every single tick box of the things that you shouldn't do, and every single tick box that you should do to either get breast cancer, not get breast cancer, I did everything and didn't do everything. So I was like, oh, I'm way too healthy. Like I exercise, I eat really good organic food. It's not going to happen to me.
Sorry to cut in there.
Yeah.
I actually remember we had to make that shift from why me.
Oh, 100% why me.
There for quite a bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
Why me to why not me?
Yeah. Yeah.
We had to make this little transition of like, well, why not me?
Yeah. Yeah, because
I've got a human body. Why not me?
I said that a lot. Oh, baby.
Yeah, and that's the process.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, no.
How did you find it?
Yes.
See, straight away, I already know this is going to be like 10 days. Can you ask one question?
I know.
I said, we've answered enough.
I must not even answer the question.
The question that we've asked.
So I wasn't looking for
how did you find
it? So I was in the shower and basically I always used a shower puff. I don't know what the technical word for it is, but I think you know what I mean. You know, one of those
like a
spongy puff things. So for as long as I can ever remember, I've always used one of those in the shower. We went to a wedding one weekend and I'd left the puff in the hotel, hadn't I? So on the Monday, I was having a shower and I was like, oh, I haven't got my puff. I left it in the shower. Fine. So I put the shower gel on my hands and for the first time in forever, I was showering with my hands. So I was touching my skin with my actual hands. And I literally just went across my chest like this and I was like, oh my God, what is that? And it was like a sort of like hardish, weird, like I'd say more like bump. And also it was kind of like on my chest. I actually wouldn't even say it was like my boob as such. It was more like on my chest. It was really high. And it was just every time I went over like this with my hands, with the shower gel, I was like, that's a lump. And it feels quite close to my boob. That's a lump on my boob. I've got a lump on my boob. Anyway, you were out at the time, weren't you? And I called the GP straight away. And they got me an appointment the next day, and then you came home and I was like, hi, and then he was like, took his coat off, took his shoes off, went and had a wee, and I was like, wanted to wait until you sat down. I was like, I found a lump on my babe. Freaking out. So the answer to the question is, I was in the shower and I found it because I'd lost the puff and was just going over my body with my hand. So I felt it in the shower.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what happened. We left it at the hotel.
Yeah.
And it's funny how things happen.
Oh my God.
Things like that.
I'm so grateful.
Basically, Kim Marsh got married.
I was just going to say.
Invited to the wedding.
I'm so grateful for Kim. She literally saved my life by getting married.
That's the headline.
Kim Marsh saved my life by getting married. It's true.
She got married and then we went to that wedding, but we left it there. And then we thought, we've left it. We thought it just shows you how sometimes you feel like something is a bad thing. Yeah. Like that's why we never necessarily label things good and bad. Mm. You think, I've left that. But actually leaving that very inexpensive thing.
Yeah.
Actually gave you such a...
Honestly, and I know it sounds really dramatic saying that because I left that, it saved my life. It sounds really dramatic, but I always use one of those in the shower.
Yeah.
Always. And I would have continued to have done that. So I would not have felt that lump if I hadn't have left that puff. I wouldn't have felt it. And who knows where I'd be today if I hadn't have felt it, to be honest.
You did. And here we are.
Yeah.
Which is good. So then what, obviously I know the answers to these questions, but obviously what happens then, you find the lump. And I remember you coming to me and let's be totally honest about it.
Yeah. I get nervous when you say that.
I think it would be unfair to use the word hypochondriac.
Yes, but...
You are very sensitive to things.
I always, I don't know, I've got a spot on my knee and I'm like, oh, my knee's broken, or the smallest little thing I do always...
A little bit dramatic. Maybe that comes from just going to stage
school, probably.
You've been trained that way.
Exactly.
So when you did come to me about it, I was like, let's keep calm.
Yeah, you were like... But also, you couldn't really feel it.
Yeah, I couldn't feel it. You should have done it to me. I said, I think it's...
Yeah.
But then I'm not a professional, so I was like, let's just... keep calm, keep in the moment.
Yeah.
And you found something. What happens now? How do we go about it? Do we make an appointment? Or
yeah.
So that brings me to the next question, which is what happens? You find the lump, and then what happens then?
So
your experience.
I felt that lump. I called my GP literally the second I got out of the shower. My GP's incredible, and they got me an appointment literally the very next day. So I went and had an appointment with the GP. And he couldn't find it. He couldn't feel it. Because basically, you couldn't feel it if my skin was dry. You couldn't feel it. And even I was like, it's here somewhere. And he was like, yeah. And anyway, you put the gel on. And then he was like, I can kind of feel it. And he was like, I'm pretty sure it's just a cyst. 99% sure it's just a cyst and it's fine. And he was like, and I think he felt my energy of, I'm not sure if I just want to go home with that. And he was like, I'll refer you if you want. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And so he referred me to something that's called the One Stop Breast Clinic. I don't know whether or not it's a national thing, but I went to the One Stop Breast Clinic where in one day they do everything. So I had an ultrasound. They also really struggled to find it. Again, nobody could feel it. Nobody could find it. Even the professional women breast clinic nurses who have done it for years and years and years could not feel it.
I remember the top consultant basically went, we don't know how you found this.
Yeah.
But you did.
Because every time they came to check me, they couldn't find it. So anyway, and then I had a biopsy. Biopsies are quite painful, just saying. Yeah, again, maybe it's because I'm dramatic. I don't know. No. And then we literally did a show that night after the biopsy. Do you remember? Anyway, and then so we got the result for the biopsy, and at the time it was kind of off the back of COVID, wasn't it? So they weren't letting people in with you in the appointments.
Yeah, I mean, something that I learned from that, I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
Something that I learned from that was that you coming to me and we getting that appointment and then you going to the One Stop Breast Clinic, is that I really learned that I think it's really important that you have your own experience of what your body's doing.
Yeah.
Because we're married, and it would have been very easy for me to go, look, what you fussing about? Don't worry about it. You need to get it checked out. There's nothing there.
Don't waste their time.
Don't waste their time. Just get on with it. You're absolutely fine, that thing. But this whole process of like you're having an experience in life is your body, it's your path, and it's up to you to go and investigate things for your body.
Yeah.
And it's my job to support you in that.
Yeah.
I think that I learned so much from that because I could have easily sort of like dissuaded you from going.
Oh, yeah, because you did think it was nothing to worry about, like in terms of just feeling it.
Yeah, I'm more of the side of like watch and wait.
Yeah, and you're used to me always thinking.
I'm kind of more like watch and wait and then see, and then if there's more concern, then you go.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Danny was waiting outside.
So yeah, it was COVID time. Sorry,
it was off of the back. It was off of the back of COVID.
Just coming at the end of it.
You were outside. I went in, and then he was like, "Oh, hi."
I wasn't allowed in.
Yeah.
This is the truth. I wasn't allowed in, but I was very much like, everything is fine. Like in my head, because I'm that way. I'm like, we're all good. You're looked after. Whatever the outcome, you're going to be looked after anyway. But on this occasion, my mind was made up, you're fine.
Yeah.
But as my husband duties, I was like, I'm not allowed in, but whatever happens, I'm coming into that. They're probably not going to support me for this, but this is my duty as I see it. Whatever happens, I'm coming in, I'm going to stand in that corridor.
Yeah.
So I actually stood in the corridor.
Yeah.
And just let you go, and I said, "I'll see you in a minute."
Yeah, very much. It was really chill.
Give me kids.
And I
said a minute. Like I stood in the corridor, and I was like, "I see," and I knew. And in my vision, you were going to come out, and you were going to be like, "Yeah, all good," like that. And then
I actually wasn't even nervous, to be honest. Really, like massively. It was
all masks. We all had all masks on and all that.
Yeah, it's like another world, isn't it?
And then, sorry, you went in.
Yeah, so I went in, and I actually put my phone on what's it called, voice to record it, because obviously Danny wasn't there. So I was like, let me record it. And he was like, "Oh, have you got anyone here with you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, my husband is outside." And he was like, "Oh, do you want him in here with you?" And I was like, "Oh, do I need him in here with me?" And he was like, "Well, do you want him in here with you?" And I was like, "Do I need him in here with me?" Like literally I said it like that, like joking. And he was like, "Well, it is cancer."
Yeah.
And and it's just like, and then he had a nurse.
Voice note of that.
We have got the voice note of it. I'll have to find it.
Yeah. It's a shame we could have played it here today.
And and he had a nurse with him, like a breast nurse, and she was sitting there like this, you know, like being there obviously for support. And then she gave me a tissue, and I remember like taking the tissue, being like, "Why don't you give me a tissue? Am I supposed to be crying? Oh my god, why?" Like, anyway, so I was like, and he just started talking, like, and telling me, "So it's this pipe and blah blah blah, and this is what," and I was like, whoa. I was like, "Can I get my husband in?" He was like, "Oh yeah, okay." So anyway, so I called you, and I was like, "Hi, do you want to come in?" They said you can come in, and you were like, "Yeah, okay." And then you came in the door, and I went, "It's bad news." I literally just sat me on getting overexcited. I was like, "It's bad news." And you were like, "What?"
And I was like, "Okay, wait a minute." And he was like, hold on.
He went, "Yes, it's cancer." He said, "But you're going to be fine." Like, he genuinely was like, "You're going to be fine. It's really small. It's really early. It's like the best case of scenario that you can get."
Can I just say something?
Diagnosis.
I know that I'm going to correct you there.
Yeah.
Because he did not say you're going to be fine.
Did he not?
I think now we're at the end of that experience. But basically he was like, "You found it early. There's so many things we can do, but we need to test to find out where it's going."
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. I was white noise.
Yeah. But now you're sitting here, you're fine. You're experiencing it that way, which is great.
Oh my God.
I'm glad that's where you've.
Yeah.
But actually, we had to go through lymph node tests.
Oh yeah, no one
to find out which one it was. We had to do all these things.
Yeah,
and it was quite there was a lot of uncertainty in it.
Yeah.
So I don't actually think he said you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm not correcting. I'm not correcting that. We can cut this out if you want.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember him saying that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you think he said that?
No, I don't know. I can't remember.
But he was right.
He was right. He was
fine. And I thought you were going to be fine. And whatever happened, I think you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Have you got your phone?
Yes, I have.
Have you find that?
Yeah, I know where it is actually. I think. Where is that? Oh, it's here.
It's okay.
So we had the biopsy result, and our suspicion was right. Unfortunately, yeah, it has cancer cells.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a good things you should think about it, that it's picked up very early.
Okay.
You picked it up really very well. It's very small, really. It's 5 millimeters.
Okay.
Which is good. So let me speak in much more details now about it and what we will do about it, okay? Are you okay? Shall I carry on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's a shock, I know. It wasn't expected by you, but to be honest, the last time I told you.
Oh, yeah, no, so, it's not like absolute complete shock horror.
Yeah.
But obviously, you just hope for the best, don't you,
So, as we said, it's 5 millimeter. If this is your right breast, it was in the upper inner quarter.
Do you know what? Can I get my husband in? Not actually for me, but just for an ear. Because I kind of feel like I'm going to walk out of here and then probably
I agree, totally agree.
Thank you. Oh, was that enough?
Yeah. Come in.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
This is Nanny.
Please have a seat, sir.
Oh, it is good.
Yeah, it's not good. But it's not.
Have a seat, have a seat.
Okay, let him speak.
Yeah. My name is Mr.
Oh, bless me. I'm like really laughing. I'm like, oh God, that made me go hot.
Yeah, exactly. So he was like, you've done very well to detect it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he was saying.
Yeah, and he was saying it's very small.
No, then he went in to proceed to say like,
Yeah.
But obviously, I think probably why, and actually, look, I'm not trying to correct you in any way in the experience because you had your own experience of it.
Yeah.
But you also did say he was like, you were completely having this experience.
It was like I literally, my soul was just grabbed out of my body, and I was just like hovering over the ceiling, just watching it happen. It was like, what is going on? Anyway. So we got the diagnosis, and then off of the back of the diagnosis, which is what you don't know unless you get a cancer diagnosis, is then there's not just one basic breast cancer diagnosis. There's like so many different types of breast cancer. So then you have to go through a whole process of loads of different tests, loads of different MRIs and scans and ultrasounds and biopsies to basically determine whether or not there were any other tumours there, what type of breast cancer it is. And there's lots of different, they were like, if it's this type, then you'll be fine and the treatment is just this. But if it's this type, then it's not so good and the treatment is this and this. And then it's whether or not you might have to have chemo, whether or not you need to have a mastectomy, and so many different options. So we went through probably a month, a good sort of 4 to 6 weeks of, and then they found some other lumps in my other boob. So then I think on one day I had about 8 different biopsies.
That's true.
And then I did a show that night.
Bruising. And
I was so bruised. And at the time, we wasn't communicating this with anybody because we made the decision that we didn't want to tell anybody until we had the full information. I didn't want to tell my family or my friends that I had cancer until I could say, I have breast cancer and it's this type and this is my treatment and blah, 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 blah. I didn't want to then keep having to regurgitate all of the information as and when we received the information. So,
and also I think for you that it was a process for you. Like you had to, before you took on what other people's feelings were about it.
Oh, I needed to, and I needed to know actually what the situation was and what I was actually facing.
And that, I also think at that time, we made that conscious decision not to do Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Because we was like, what's the point in researching what you might not have?
Yeah.
And then you create this whole level of fear.
100%. Well, already I started Googling people that died of breast cancer. And they was just like, so-and-so died of breast cancer, so-and-so died of breast cancer. And then you helped me. And you was like, why don't you start Googling people that had breast cancer and are still alive?
Yeah.
And that really helped. Anyway, we digress.
As we do.
This is going to be so long. Good luck on editing this, babe. Exactly. Anyway, so yes, lots of different MRIs, lots of biopsies. But I was, we received the amazing news that it was just that one lump. And it was the best type in terms of treatment-wise and recovery-wise of breast cancer. So it was a hormonal, estrogen-driven breast cancer. So I was scheduled in for a lumpectomy. And
that's another question that's come up actually. Like, did you have a mastectomy?
Yes.
Because people, obviously, that's a difficult question for people to ask.
Yeah.
Someone did actually ask that.
Yeah, a few people asked that, and I appreciate them asking that question, actually, because I feel like there's quite a few people that I've seen since my diagnosis and since everything that's happened, and I fully appreciate why sometimes people are a bit nervous to ask. They feel like it's quite an invasive question. And I do, I'll be honest, I do feel that sometimes when I do see people that I haven't seen since it, I kind of find them like talking to me and like looking at my boobs. And I think they're trying to work out whether or not I had a mastectomy or not. And I can feel that they're doing it. And sometimes I'm just very out and open and I'm like, yeah, these are my boobs. Like, if that's what you're trying to ask me. So it's a bit of it can be a bit awkward sometimes.
I have another question. So did you have a mastectomy?
I didn't, no. So I just had a lumpectomy because it was a very, very, very small lump just in my right boob. And what the procedure was, the surgeon basically cuts half around the nipple and then just literally goes up inside. He took the lump out and then just literally sewed the nipple back up. So I've got a very, very teeny tiny scar just around the nipple. So yeah, I say non-invasive. It was pretty invasive at the time when I was recovering from it. But so I just had a lumpectomy.
Yeah, and also everybody has a relative experience. Like we've spoken to loads of people that have had breast cancer, had a breast cancer experience, and their treatment has been different. The process is
so many different.
The type has been different. The way they've approached it has been different. So you could only share your experience. And also, I think one of the reasons why I was encouraging you to make this video and you're speaking more about it is because actually, I think one of the things that come out of that you said about people were saying about mastectomy or whatever, is that also once people are aware that you have a cancer, you're having an experience with cancer, and we'll explain why we say it that way, then people want to ask you how you are, but they also want to be sensitive to how you are, and because they don't know how you are, people ask you in a very tentative kid glove, like, are you all right? You're like,
people like talk to like little like,
and that's fine. But sometimes it's just good to like get it out, and say and be open. And I think if you can be, which you have been, open about it, then people get the answers to the questions that they've always maybe wanted to ask. But it's like, am I in a position? Because I don't really know you that well. To even ask that question in private. Or do you even want to talk about it? You know, so this whole sharing about things on like social and Instagram, I think you guys know us well enough. It's not about getting followers or like that. It's more about sharing experience, sharing experience of life.
And also after I got my diagnosis and when I was going through everything, I got so much from other people that had shared their experience on YouTube, on Instagram. So I just feel like now, if I can help anybody just by talking about it, or if there's literally one tiny little thing that I say, like in our conversations about it, and that kind of helps somebody that was in my position at the beginning, then that's amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like, people say if you just help one person.
Oh no, it sounds so lucky.
No, a lot of people have actually also come to you and said, because you said that, I checked my boobs.
I
got them checked and whatever. So I think that's
I'm actually going through an experience at the moment with somebody that I know really well, who's literally going through the exact same experience as I did. They've actually been diagnosed with the exact same type. They're going through the exact same treatment. And because I was very open about going through it, we've been talking. And she's been like, oh, what happens on this appointment? And what do I expect here? And what do I expect there? And we've been having loads of phone calls. And it's been really, really, really beautiful kind of relationship, So she's doing really well now, by the way. And I'm so proud about her. She's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's a service to, it sounds like profound, but it's a service to other humans to even share your experience.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I think it's helpful.
So, got the diagnosis, had a lumpectomy, and then the next part of the process was I was offered 10 sessions of radiotherapy. The radiotherapy actually was seen as a just in case scenario, like a belt and braces. There was actually no cancer there anymore. but they wanted to offer it just in case there was like the tiniest rogue cell that could potentially then mutate into cancer again. So after lots of conversations, we decided to go ahead with that. So I did.
You did that.
10 sessions of that.
Yeah, and also, like, just to be clear, I think it's an important point.
Yeah.
Like, actually, the majority of your treatment was done by the NHS.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a few.
Like One Stop Breast Clinic, all went that for NHS.
Amazing.
Just to be totally transparent, you did have a few scans privately.
Yes.
Because there was a long waiting list. And that's no slight on NHS, but
yeah.
you were in a lot of anxiety and stuff. So
yeah, I went through a period of time where I was so, as you can imagine, I was so anxious. And then I kind of felt this lump on my back, didn't I? And I was, as you can imagine, convinced.
And we had no answers at that time.
No.
We didn't know what type it was, whether it spread into lymph nodes. We didn't know anything.
I was convinced it was a tumour on my back.
And we were coming into Christmas and everything was just about to shut down.
Yes.
And I was like, and we didn't have the appointment for like another 3 months or 4 months.
And I was like, I can't wait that long. I couldn't wait that long because I was literally like climbing the walls. So we paid for that privately, didn't we? But what I will say is I actually wanted to get an MRI for something else that I was worried about. Can't even remember what it was now. And the waiting time was actually longer privately than it was on the NHS. Do you remember that?
I think what I would say is that, I don't know if you could vouch for this, but that actually the NHS was incredible.
Unbelievably so.
The one thing that we always say though is that I think it's an incredible service.
Yeah.
But I do think you have to be an independent advocate of your own health within it. Like you have to do your own research, you have to ask questions.
Yeah.
Our experiences.
Yeah.
You have to be your own research, ask questions.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to challenge.
100%.
And don't be afraid to ask, what does that actually mean?
Oh, yeah.
What is this?
Some of the language do you remember that time they used this language and he said this word and I thought he was telling me that I had some kind of other cancer somewhere. And I was like, hang a minute, what is blah, 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 blah? And he was like, oh, it's your armpit. It's just a word for armpit. And I'm like, we said, why don't you just say armpit?
It's the technical terms.
So, but one of the, so I had the radiotherapy. And one of the other things that they do is they, during surgery, so whilst they do the lumpectomy, they they take a lymph node out of your armpit. And the reason why they do that is they take it out and then they biopsy it and they test it to see whether or not there's cancer in the lymph node. If there's cancer in the lymph node, then that means that there's a potential that the cancer is spread elsewhere. Now, that was a 3-week wait. You have
to wait for that.
For those results. So you have your surgery and then you're recovering from the surgery.
You have to do exercise.
You have to do exercises and physio. But during that time, you're basically waiting for an appointment to find out whether or not the cancer is spread anywhere else.
I remember
and that was tricky.
You went and the surgeon he checked you and you was eating very well.
When I went for the results of the lymph node.
And then he went, like, done the curtain. And then you were there and all that. And while he was there, I could see the computer.
You did a little James Bond FBI investigation. He's nosy.
I could see the result, and it was a positive result.
No, well, negative.
No, negative result. It was a good news.
Yeah.
That's the best way to say it. Yeah. It was good news from our side, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
And then this curtain opened up, and I was catching your eye, and I was trying to
tell me.
Yeah, it's all good, like, type thing. And then I was like, so can we...
Yeah, he went real hard.
I was like, I know, like, this is great, but can we just jump to that bit?
Yeah, what is...
Because
And then he was like, it's fine, it's not in lymph node, basically you're cancer-free, like, literally there and then. And that is, I'd say, like, there was a lot of tears that day.
Yeah.
A lot of tears that day. It was like everything, all of the pressure, just so kind of like, was like, oh. And something else that we went through as well is... when you first get a cancer diagnosis, before they know what type it is and whether or not it spreads to the lymph nodes and whether or not you're going to need chemo, as a woman, they offer you fertility treatment just in case you have to have chemo. So we were given the option of whether or not we wanted to explore that before we knew whether or not we was going to have chemo or not. So we basically had some of the initial tests, didn't we? So Danny had to do a test And I'm such a child.
I was just to say, so
I am such a child. Anyways, Danny had to do a test, and then I had some scans and ultrasounds and things like that. And everything came back that all was kind of like good if we wanted to go down that route, in terms of like everything was healthy in terms of if we wanted to have a baby or freeze eggs, freeze embryos. But during that process, this is something that I didn't speak about at the time, I got a phone call, and we was actually in Jersey just about to do a show, and I got a phone call saying, hi, we've had the results of your scan on your, I don't know if it was my womb or my uterus or whatever it was. And she said, and we found a suspicious mass that we're a bit concerned about, so we want you to come in. Can you?
Yeah. Well, I can imagine because I was there.
So, can you imagine? And anyway, we went on stage and did the show. And then I was absolutely convinced that I had like ovarian cancer or something like that. And then it was like, I started getting these like phantom pains that I'd never even had before.
We also had to backpedal. This speaks into what you said about not being dramatic, but your personality is that way. So then we had to backpedal, and I had to say, we have to look at the evidence that we've currently got.
Yeah.
And the evidence that we've currently got pretty much says that it wouldn't be something, even though they think it's probably something else.
I was at that point there was nothing you could say to me that didn't stop my anxiety. I was absolutely convinced. But anyway, we went and had further tests, and it turned out I just had like a small fibroid, and the doctor was actually like a bit annoyed that the nurse had called me and said the phrase suspicious mass to somebody that was currently going through a cancer diagnosis already. So so it was anxious times for me, big time. Thanks to you for getting me through. Honestly, I mean, those of you that know Danny, whether you know him personally, whether or not you just know him through Instagram, oh my goodness me, like, I actually don't know what I would have, I don't want to cry. I actually don't know what I would have done without you. No, just in terms of like, not just you and your love and your compassion and just being there for me, just in like a normal husband way, but just what you did for me, for my mind throughout it all. Oh my God, don't you cry, stop it. Honestly, like, the power of the mind is unreal. And what you did for me on that side of things, like, I can never, ever, ever pay you back in any, I literally don't even know how I can ever pay you back for that.
Well, let you in secret, it wasn't actually me. The power of the mind is strong, but there's a power beyond the mind.
Yeah.
And I'm tapped into that.
Honestly.
You're tapped into that.
Yeah.
And we're all actually tapped into that. We just have to reveal it. And a situation like this encourages you to dig deep and go, actually, there's something much bigger at play.
Which
it can hold, which I believe it's the power of love.
Yeah.
Supreme love that can hold absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And then this is the time to practice love as an action. And you put it into practice during those times.
Thanks to you, because a bit the me beforehand would have been, because I was frightened of dying, like, because one of the questions actually was,
what was your biggest fear?
What was your biggest fear? And obviously at the beginning it was dying, like, but with a lot of the meditations that you,
which we did all throughout
radiotherapy, surgery, listening to like mantra music, like so many meditations, and really getting my mind into that aspect of completely switching it around to actually not being afraid of death, which...
Well, you're not the body, but that's a whole other podcast. That's a whole self-inquiry situation.
Yeah. But honestly, I genuinely got to the point where I actually wasn't afraid of death. I organised my funeral, and I was very matter-of-factly, my friends can vouch for this, bless them. I was literally going around their houses and just kind of like hanging out and being like, right, so this is what my funeral is going to be. This is what I want you all to wear. This is how it's going to be. And they were like, no, what? And I was like, no, honestly, because we've got to face the fact that if these results don't go the way that we want them to go, I might die from this. I don't want to die because I'm not ready. Like, I don't want to die yet, but if I do, then I do. So I did become very matter-of-fact by it.
Yeah, I think on a relative scale, you can get upset, you can have fear. All those things are, like, are valid.
Yeah.
Totally valid, and you speak for them, and you embrace them, you love them. But the integration of it all is like, we all do die.
Yeah.
and I've spoke about this recently, like with my granddad and stuff like that. It wasn't your time.
No.
But we had so many deep conversations about this, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a whole self-inquiry process. And I think I can share more about that on a different thing, or we can create a PDF or whatever with the meditations we did, or the self-inquiry questions. But there's no doubt about it. Shock. It's a shock maybe to people, but during my day, if you follow us on Instagram, it's all on a spiritual platform.
100%.
It's not religious necessarily. It's inquiring into this big power of love.
I'm so grateful for it.
You know,
honestly.
And it's not even, you don't have to even access it, because it's already part and parcel of who you are. It's that you feel the separation of it. And the whole meditations that we were doing was the practice of realizing you're not actually separate from that love.
Yeah.
And then on the ultimate reality, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah. You die.
You die. And even when you die, you're going to be okay. Yeah. Which seems really macabre and brutal and horrible, because obviously if you did die, I would be sad.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You would hope. But at the same time, it was coming to that perspective of integrating the whole process.
Yeah.
And also practicing what you preach, because we speak a lot about love and kindness. And
positivity.
But when things like this happen, can you step up and really practice those principles that you've been talking about this time? And we had a community daily positive actions during lockdown. Yeah. We said all these things to people. We spoke about, like, you know, COVID and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, okay, well now it is like,
put it into
put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and it did. You know, I mean, look, there was so many times where I was comforting my friends and family more. Yeah. Like, that kind of gave me strength. I was kind of like to them, like, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. Like, honestly, I'm like, are you okay? Because I knew how upsetting it was for them, because I was reversing the role of how upset I would be if they had a cancer diagnosis. So it was kind of making me stronger in a weird way.
I remember that one morning we didn't know, we were waiting for the results and stuff. Yeah. And then I woke up in the morning, I was in bed, and I think I'd done breakfast in bed, and we just chatted about these deep conversations.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just like, I was absolutely sobbing.
Well, I said to you, what will you do without me? And it was a genuine question. It wasn't like, what would you do without me? It was like, what are you going to do without me? And I was like, if you want to meet somebody else, I'm totally fine with it, which I never thought I would say, ever.
And I was like, no, I'm going to be a monk in India.
He said, I'll just become a monk to go to India. And I was like, I'm good with that. As much as I was happy, like, finding a new wife, I'm good with you going to India.
I remember being in the space where I felt emotional, and I was trying to, we had this conversation very early on, is that I wouldn't try to be like this big, masculine guy that was like holding it all together. It was like, I will support you and I'll be there for you, but I've also got my feelings around it. And can we both be honest?
Yeah, that was
what we're feeling.
Really important. That
you and me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think I'm going to make this. This is not going to be a good result. And instead of me going, no, it's going to be okay, I was like, I'm hearing what you're saying.
Yeah. Any fears, any thoughts, any feelings that we had, we openly and honestly discussed them. Yeah, there was no fear of upsetting the other person.
I didn't think we could get any closer than we were.
Yeah.
But this definitely brought us more.
100%.
Like that idea of unconditional love.
Yeah.
It was here.
Yeah.
And that morning, long story short, because we're asking you questions, but I just absolutely cried my heart out. And I think you were cuddling me, and I was crying up. I think I needed to just do it.
Oh,
and I remember, like, because my nan's like at the end of her life, she's got dementia. My granddad was alive at the time, but he had a few things going on. And then did my granddad die? I can't remember what happened.
No,
I've lost the timeline.
No, he was still there, but you basically
I just remember saying the three most important people in my life, in my perception on that morning, were hanging in the balance.
Yeah,
it was like, and how could this be going on? And it was really challenging, like really challenging. And it's like, okay, how do I practice? And it wasn't about like toxic positivity. We know when they say, don't worry, be positive. Yeah. And it wasn't like spiritual bypassing where it was like, oh, don't worry, I just need to go meditate. It was like integrating it all in together.
Yeah.
And practicing this idea that love can hold anything. It's very profound.
Yeah.
You can't even put language on it.
No.
Like, to put words on it would limit it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Woo!
God, this is long.
It's so long.
So I actually was going to ask what helped you the most during the process, but I think we just answered
I think we've answered that. Meditation, mindset, also the mindset of envisioning. I'm really into Joe Dispenza. I was listening to a lot of Joe Dispenza meditations as well, and it was basically envisioning my life outside of the diagnosis, moving on in a year's like, and not just envisioning, but like literally waking up and being in that life of being cancer free.
That process is you collapse time.
Yeah.
You collapse time. So what you do is that you feel the energy of what you're potentially trying to create now.
Yeah. We changed our environment.
There's no future, there's no past, you feel it now.
Yeah. We changed like the living room around. We bought all new like bed linen, like we just changed the whole environment of what the environment was when I got cancer, and that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying at this point that one of the major impacts that we also had is that we worked with a functional medicine.
Yes. So
we worked with a quantum clinic.
Yeah. So part of the treatment outside of the NHS was we contacted this amazing, incredible doctor called Dr. Tadford Colley. She's a functional medicine doctor, and functional medicine doctors...
She specialises in
cancer diagnoses.
And through a vegan perspective as well.
Yeah. And functional medicine doctors are doctors. They are qualified doctors. But what they do is they focus on the why rather than just treating. So they basically look into why did this diagnosis happen? Why did and how did cancer manifest within inside your body? So it's trying to find the root.
We would say that's a symptomatic of something deeper.
Yeah. So it's basically finding the root of why the cancer manifested inside your body, rather than just being like what the NHS does, which is incredible. And obviously I did that route as well. Okay, you've got a cancer diagnosis. This is the treatment. And then you finish that, and then on your merry way, carry on with your life.
Yeah, so we like, if you visualise the tree,
yeah,
and then you're pruning like the flowers, and you're cutting off the branches, and you see these little things there, but you're not really concentrating on the root, and the soil. So we tend to the soil and the root of the tree, instead of pruning the branches. And taking a lump out is pruning the branches, and not. But from our perspective, this is just the way that we.
Yeah, but it's something that I feel really strongly about.
And we had this like blood test.
Yeah, it's something that
samples and everything, and we looked at the whole.
Yeah, and it's something that I feel so strongly about talking about, which I definitely want to talk about more. For me, I didn't want to just have the lump taken out, have the radiotherapy to just make sure that all of if there were any cells left that were gone, and then just carry on with my life. Because the way I saw it was, this manifested in my body for a reason. Like, this cancer appeared in my breast for a reason. So I was a bit like, I don't want to have the lump taken out and then just carry on doing exactly what I was doing, because the way I saw it was, who's to say it's not going to just happen again? Like, there was something that I was doing in my life that made that happen. So we looked into that, and Tadford Colley really helped with that, in the sense of did all of the Dutch test and like look into that with Google.
And that's Gemma.
Yes.
Powered doctor.
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah, we gave her a call and she recommended Tadford Colley to us, which was so kind of her. So it
was a beautiful relationship as well.
Yeah.
And I also must say, there's no doubt about it, it cost money.
Yes, that's part, yeah.
And we was in a fortunate position that we could afford to do that. But the one thing that I kept saying at the time was, how much do you spend on an iPhone?
Oh my God. And on your car's MOT.
It's like, it was probably, if you went and bought the latest iPhone right now, it was cheaper than that.
Yeah.
You know, and you pay for your car insurance, your MOT and all that. You find the money for that.
Yeah.
So we could do it for this.
Yeah.
You know?
So we went with a functional medicine doctor and we looked into all of my baselines of everything. We found that my vitamin D was really, really, really low. For example, this is just a very small example. We won't go into it. And having low vitamin D is a high contributing factor to having breast cancer. So then we did so much research and we found out that toxin loads within your system can manifest cancer within the body. But particularly because I had a hormonal induced breast cancer, we basically went down the rabbit hole of finding that a lot of household products, products that I was using on myself on a day-to-day basis, were containing things called endocrine disruptors, which are basically hormone disruptors, which are known to cause cancers such as breast cancer. Now, this was a whole rabbit hole, not even a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a totally different conversation.
It was like a hole that we went down anyway.
But I think it's important to say.
So important.
And they're not obscure brands, and we're not going to get into that. Household things that think.
Oh, brands.
They're not just little tweaks that we could make on things that you use on I think that's the simplest way to say it.
Yeah.
Things that you use on a daily basis, right?
Yeah. So we literally wrote down a list of things that I use on a daily basis. So shower gel, my hair products, my makeup, toothpaste, deodorant, all of the things that you're using every single day. And there's this app called the Yucca app.
And there's other ones as well.
Yeah, there's so many others. But the Yucca app, basically, you can scan the barcode on your product and it tells you the ingredients that are in it, potential ingredients that are harmful, and also why they're harmful. So it will literally say, this has 2 endocrine disruptors known to cause breast cancer. Like, it will literally say things like that. And we basically found out that every single item that I was using on a daily basis was absolutely loaded with endocrine disruptors. So it was kind of a light bulb moment, wasn't it? Because for me, I kept on with the why me? I'm really healthy. I exercise. I eat organic food. I don't do this. I don't do this. And it was like, oh my God, like all of these things I've been putting on my body for all of this time.
And it's just one element. I mean, there's so many elements that come together, and it depends how deep you want to go, how far you want to go. But obviously, again, we're just sharing our experience.
So I basically changed every single product that I was using, every single product. There's a lot of research that says BPA in plastics are really, really known to bring on breast cancer. So we got a water filter. I've stopped drinking out of plastic water bottles, and so on and so on. Again, that's a whole other video.
And the other thing is that there's no such thing as perfection here.
No,
like I kept saying to you, we live in a toxic world.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing that we all have to face, whether pollutions or plastics or chemicals or pesticides. I mean, all that. And you can negate as much as you want. You can say, not this, not that, I'm not going to take this. But you're still going to have a toxic load. It's up to you on basis of commitment you want to go about. And I don't think maybe if you would have had this diagnosis, we'd have even considered it.
No.
I always have this thing, like if we go out or we socialise or we talk to people or we get into this conversation, I would say, if you want to enjoy, you want to have fun, don't speak to Victoria. Because as much as she's very informative and she's got all the information, we both have, and we've both made major changes in our lives. We're meditators, we're vegans, we don't do this, we don't do that. You drink, but not very much. I've been sober for 17 years. There's so many things that we don't do. But there's this guy that I follow, and they said to him, what is it that you do to have this health that you have, this optimum health that you have? What is it that you do? And he said, it's not so much of what I do, it's what I don't do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's natural. I think it's more about how you just share your own experience, and everyone's going to have a different way of approaching it. And we're not saying that this is the way to do it.
No.
And we're not saying that those products necessarily definitively do that.
No. But what I would like to say,
but the research that we've shown
to everybody out there, do your own research. Do your research on endocrine disruptors. Get an app like Yucca. Check the products that you're using on a daily basis, and be an advocate for your own body and for your own health. Your mind will be blown if you look into it. Don't just take my word for it, though. Please look into it, because
the experiment.
I get so frustrated when I walk in shops and I see these products on the shelves knowing what they're doing to people's bodies, and we've got no idea. So that's something that I feel really, really strongly about. So there you go.
Thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, I feel really strong. I feel really strongly about it.
They can ask you or DM you or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll be happy.
Please do. Yeah.
So, as you know, we probably could do this forever. We could speak forever. And maybe one day we'll do a live or something. Maybe. And then people could ask questions in a live.
Yeah.
Or we'll go that way about it.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know. 40
Yeah, we should do that, actually. We should do
Maybe
that.
that's a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
To expand on this a bit more.
Yeah.
But what to end,
Yeah.
what happens now?
Okay.
What's your message?
So what happens
What's your
now
message
is
to the world?
I am down to have yearly mammograms because obviously I'm on their radar now. So once a year I'm going to have a mammogram. I have an open access nurse, which means I just have a nurse that I have direct contact with, so that if I ever am concerned about anything, if I ever feel anything, that I can contact her immediately and she gets me in straight away to check anything if I'm worried about anything. I am not on any medication. I was offered a hormone therapy for 5 years, which after much conversation and research, I personally decided not to, because I'm looking at lots of different natural alternative ways.
Yeah, and we looked at the consultant and we looked at the risk and the percentage of that risk and what it was for you, an individual, and the risk.
So I'm not on, so I'm currently not on any treatment. I have yearly mammograms and
Cancer is not in your body.
Cancer is not in my body, and I'm just living my best life and just loving life and enjoying being alive and just being so happy and grateful every day.
Totally. And what I would add, because we haven't actually spoke about this before we come to an end, is that why did we reframe it as a breast cancer experience?
Yes.
Because it sounds like something you get at Alton Towers or the Cheshunt World.
Breast cancer experience.
It sounds a bit like that.
No, this was thanks to you, and it completely transformed my way of thinking and my mindset around it. So it was to not take on the identity of being a cancer patient, because I think the moment you get a cancer diagnosis, it's very, very easy to kind of go into that mindset and that emotional energy of being like, I've got cancer. Oh, like
that is fine too.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I did have days like that. Don't get me wrong. Of course I did. But it was to not take on that identity of being somebody that had cancer. It was just, I'm Victoria Goddard Foster. I am Victoria Goddard, and I'm just currently experiencing breast cancer in my body. Yeah. And I'm going to have surgery. I'm going to have it taken out. And then I'm just going to be Victoria Goddard again. It's just something I'm experiencing at the moment. And that, I would actually say, was number one for me, because one of the questions that was asked as well was, how are you so positive throughout it? How were you so positive throughout it? I wasn't positive all the time. There were days when I was on the sofa crying, watching Netflix. No, but do you know what I mean? I don't want to be toxic positivity that I was like, woohoo, every single day. Or
shared the experience.
Yeah. But that's why we say the breast cancer experience, not taking on the identity of being a cancer patient.
There's the relative and there's the ultimate. And the ultimate is just something that's passing through temporary.
Yeah. What I would like to say really quickly, wrapping up, is thank you. Honestly, the support and the messages of love that I had throughout that whole experience. I mean, I'm not going to start saying it to you. Cry again, but
even up until now,
friends and family, obviously, but just people on Instagram, people I've connected with on the socially, the amount of love I got was just overwhelming, and it was just a beautiful feeling to know that, you know, there's just so many amazing, loving people out there.
Yeah, I think in a world where we can be cynical and judgmental, and we can doubt whether or not there's even nice people out there sometimes.
Yes.
Just by virtue of what we see on the news.
Yeah.
And in the media and social media, sometimes it can feel a bit.
Yeah.
For some people, that totally was not our experience through that.
It was beautiful.
And you know what? Even before that, and even after that, here people were just so kind and loving towards us. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And there is no way that I've realised that you can actually. I think it was really optimistic to even try and talk about this subject and cut it up into small pieces. It's definitely a podcast more than anything else, but it's inspired me to maybe create a podcast for the future.
Yeah.
Because human experience is important, and if people get a platform to share their experience and the way that they approach life and their challenges, it is so transformative, more than any book.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you do that? How did this happen? This really?
Yeah.
You know, you experienced this, and what was it like for you?
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate you.
Wow.
And I love you very much.
You too.
And thank you. And well done to you.
Thanks. Well done to you.
There's some love.